we had this ceremony where, after the rituals and stuff, there were loads of professors giving speeches for the new doctors. And there was a red thread, like a theme throughout all the speeches, which was basically the world's fucked up. Oh my God. And what I found funny is that we had a room with about 200 of the wisest people in the nation and their teachers, and everybody was basically saying the same message: world is going downhill. Oh my God, woe is us. And when we came back home, we stopped by at a flea market, and there was a local newspaper, so I flipped through the newspaper, and there was an article about this lady, a local lady who had owned a business and then had gone bankrupt. And in the article, the lady quoted, I can't remember the guy's name, but like a futurologist, a future studies scholar, who said that every nation and every individual sustain their, can't remember the exact term he used, but the gist of the quote was that it's very important to have a positive outlook on life, because that's how we sustain our freshness, so to speak. And I was thinking about the difference between this satsang and the basic message of non-duality. You know, there's no, I mean, there's of course there's suffering. There are units to die, but in the end, there's no one to die. Everything is okay in a very, very fundamental way. And
Yeah.
if we just have our gaze on the appearances that of course change and are ruled by people who are messed up, of course, the world seems like a dark place.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to get across is that we have a duty, each one of us here, a duty to look at things from a different angle and then speak from that truth, instead of just repeating the message that we can apparently see if we look at the world how it's going. you know
It's just not when we look at the world, it's just not a neutral event. It's, the world, because the world that we focus on is the world we're going to see. So when we get down in the sewer of, man, the world is ending, woe is us, and on this, that actually contributes to your seeing, uh,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we make the world so by looking at it through the so-called realist lens or the so-called pessimistic lens. So
Yeah.
we make the world so. But when you see the world from the point of view that we're exploring here, we make the world so. And that
Yeah.
changes everything. And I think we, as participants here, participant observers here in this satsang, have a duty, in a sense, to speak from that truth. Not to convert anybody, but just to try and spread that truth. Just a bit more into the world where everybody, even the wisest people and their teachers and professors, seem to be making the world so.
They are the wisest within relativity.
Yeah, yeah. Smartest, I'd
Yeah,
say.
smartest
Looking
is the
at
way.
people.
Yeah, smartest, but not the wisest. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and then driving back home, then I see this lady who's just gone bankrupt and had a little like small business, and her quote was, filled with wisdom.
Yeah, whatever happens is a blessing in disguise. That's a quote Robin just did.
Mm.
And who was it from? Robin, I recognize the name, but immediately forgot who it was.
He, hi,
Robert Adams, isn't it?
yeah, Robert Adams. He was a non-dual teacher in the
Yeah,
90s, I think.
yeah, yeah. He was very, very well known, and
Oh, there's a beautiful quote from Robert Adams, just from the top of my head. I can't remember it, of course, exactly, but he says, something like this in his very nice book called Silence of the Heart, that you know the world may appear hard at times. The world may appear hard at times, but it's not. I mean, it's not. It's just because you see it. Look at the world and laugh, he says in the same quote. It's a long quote. I can't remember it from the top of my head, but it's a really beautiful book.
But it's uh, it's beautiful in the sense that, well, I mean, it's a beautiful recognition of the truth. Somebody, I don't remember who it was, but one of you sent me a short video on uh, how our conscious presence changes reality. Because we're making the brain is sort of making it up as we go. I say it's the brain. I don't know, or the something. And so just rather than get into weeds where I don't quite understand, what I can say is what the scientists have said for a long time, which is that the observer is part of what is being observed. So what you're looking at is what you've been looking for, awakeness. Thanks so much, Dennis. Do you have, excuse me, JP, do you have more to add to that? I'd love it.
No, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Just wanted to emphasize the duty that we have in the very act of seeing it. You just mentioned that's often said from the, which I'm not, of course, a specialist on, but quantum physics, where they say the observer effect, where you just by observing a phenomenon, you change the field of the phenomenon.
That's it.
And, us observing and looking at the world through a non-dual lens, we have a duty, a moral obligation after having, realized that to to make the world so
Yeah.
by our presence. It's, I mean, there's a really, really important and often overlooked ethical, moral aspect to non-dual recognition. That's often the byproduct of a whatever form of spiritual bypassing, and you know, I guess that's a phase in the post-awakening post-awakening stages, so to speak, where you try and neglect that moral duty. But sooner or later, at least I hope, it becomes a real question and a real quest.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, it's just exactly what I said. I used to believe that this was neutral in all ways, and that I never thought about the fact we were contributing to make it something other than neutral. And
Mm.
our effect is profound.
Oh yes, oh yes. I mean, think about the Renaissance. About 1,000 people during the Renaissance period changed the world. A
Mhm.
thousand people who were more conscious than people from periods before Renaissance.
That's right.
Mm. I could
So,
go on and on, but I won't. So thanks.
well, that was really good, and I appreciate your offering that up, because it's good for me.